You are listening to the Independent Dealer Podcast with hosts Luke Godwin and Jeff Watson.
Hello and welcome to the Independent Dealer Podcast, brought to you by Buckeye Dealership Consulting. Luke, there's a lot changing out there in the world right now. A lot of stuff. And one thing I want to talk to you about and all of our viewers this week is this thing called AI.
It's all about AI today.
Everything's got an AI tag on it, right?
Hey, Jeff, are those glasses you wear in AI?
Yes. Yeah, this is an artificially generated image of me trying to look smarter. And I figured for a Smarty Pants episode, I'm going to look as smart as possible. So
nice.
We're going to talk about AI as it relates to ChatGPT and how that's going to affect dealerships, right? Now, I'm not a pro. You're not a pro. We're not experts in the field. This whole thing's only a couple of months old anyway. So there's a handful of people.
I think when I brought this up, you laughed at me.
No, I don't think so.
Are you sure?
It would have been like 3 episodes that you first mentioned it, and we'd been kind of dabbling in it. And since then, I've kind of got into it pretty deep, right? Like I've been using it. We've been implementing it here in the dealership for different stuff. So that's kind of what we want to talk about. And so dealers know, if you have no idea what this is, Luke, give us kind of the 10,000 foot overview so the dealers know if this is maybe your first time or you've maybe heard of it, but you don't really know.
Okay. I think ChatGPT was purchased by Microsoft for like $10 billion, right? And so
OpenAI.
And so in my understanding of it is that it is an artificial intelligent bot that generates, I think it can generate text as well as language, correct, Jeff? Yeah, no, I don't know.
Yeah, and images. Yeah.
And images.
That can take text to image, yeah.
And it crawls Microsoft's horrible search engine called Bing and gets all of its information. And it's a wonderful product, Jeff. But what you can do is say, hey, chat, write me a description for this car, or write me a description for the Independent Dealer Podcast, or write me a blog for my website on this subject matter, or write me an essay about Abraham Lincoln, right? Mm-hmm. It can do these things. It's, that is about as much as I know, and that's about as dangerous as I can get.
Yeah, so it's what's called a large language model, right? So OpenAI took basically all of the internet's knowledge, all of the transcripts, the natural writing, the language, everything, and stuck it into this generative model, transformer is what they call it. It only goes back to 2001. Right. So 2001 is where ChatGPT came out. There's GPT-4, which is a more advanced version. But if you guys go to OpenAI, you can sign up. It's free. So I definitely recommend you go to OpenAI, get in it, sign up, and start messing around with it. And so let's talk about some of the use cases, because I see this as being very transformative for dealers. It's going to allow us to get a lot more done a lot faster. It's going to disrupt some of the things that we're currently doing. And it's going to give us the ability to just be more efficient all the way around, right? Because like Luke said, it can generate these things just with simple prompts.
Yeah, it's revolutionary for, I think, every industry, Jeff. I mean, it really can be. I saw something the other day where somebody was using it for like a teledoc or a WebMD type situation, and it took some college board exam for doctors, and it made like a 98% on the college board exam. So it's revolutionary. I said college board, but the medical board exam. It's revolutionary for every industry. So what we have to do as dealers, when any technology comes out, we've got to figure out how it works for us. And the most simple thing, which we talked about several weeks ago, was using it to write car descriptions, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's always been something that kind of can do that if you have the right inventory management system. But what ChatGPT can do and does is it helps you with the SEO because it's pulling that stuff off the web and knows what to use, right?
Yeah. And a lot of it is, it's not like you're going to a service where it's giving you a template for a 2015 Ford Fusion, right?
Right.
You can, and the key to ChatGPT, guys, I'm going to say this is the overall skill that we have to learn is the prompts. You have to learn how to give it the correct prompts to get the right thing out of it, right? If you just say, tell me about a 2013 Ford Focus, it's going to give you all sorts of nonsense that's really not going to be usable for you.
Right.
But if you say, give me a playful, entertaining sales description for a 2013 Ford Focus with these features and reference Four Seasons auto sales with this phone number, it will take all of that and expound it into a beautiful paragraph that you can copy and paste onto your website or into your ad. So it's learning the prompts, learning how to tell it the right thing. So a really, really good example, like Luke said, is using those car descriptions, right? Another thing that we've been using it for, and we'll give you guys some examples of practical applications. I've been using it to write blog posts for my website, right? Those are like the most dreaded things. It could take you 2 hours to write a blog post on why you should buy a car from a car lot instead of buying private party, right? But it was super easy for me to enter those prompts in. Please give me an article in a friendly tone on why buying a car from a car lot has an advantage over private party. And it busted out an entire article. All I had to do was go in, kind of personalize, edit a few things, but it did all the heavy lifting for me. And then I just copy and pasted it onto my website.
I don't know if I've written essays and essays and essays for, in college, and then I've written articles for magazines after, in the last 5 years, maybe 10 years. And the hardest thing sometimes, Jeff, is getting started, right?
Yeah.
And what is neat about this, using this in your processes, which we've been talking about a lot on the newsletter, is that you can do tone, which is great. And I'll tell you another way we're using it here in a second. But it's, hey, ChatGPT, get me started on this, and then you can do your own editing to make it feel like your own. And it's just a very, very handy thing. And blog posts are so important for your website. The more you update your blog posts, and this makes it a lot easier to do, the more Google crawls your website, and the better you show up in searches, right?
Yeah, and who knows the way Google's going to get around everyone doing this and just flooding the SEO market with a bunch of AI generated articles. But you're right, you can change the tone, and that's what's so interesting is when it writes that, you can say, try again with a more friendly tone, or try again and be funnier, and then it'll rewrite the entire article with a different tone.
So in responding to emails from customers, we have started to use it because some of my staff, what would have to happen is they would write the email, send it to me, I would edit it, and then send it back. Well, and we also use Grammarly, which I guess is some sort of small AI portion. But what we've been doing lately is you can tell, I need a serious tone. I need a business tone in this return email, or I need a playful or joking tone in this email. And it's really helped our management staff and some of our salespeople to change the way they speak to customers. And I think it's helping. I might be wrong, but I think it's helping.
Yeah. Another way we've been doing it is I've used it to write my Google review responses.
Yeah.
So I will say, please respond to this Google review in a friendly tone. And I'll copy and paste the Google review, and it will write a paragraph responding to that review as if it's me. Hey, thank you so-and-so for buying this car. Yes, Susan is an amazing employee. I hope you're happy with your 2013 Ford Focus, blah, 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 blah. And then I say, try it again, but use the tone of Donald Trump. And it writes it as if it's Donald Trump. This is just fabulous. Everything's great. So if you go to my reviews, you can see where I responded to these reviews.
Have you tried it with a negative review?
No, I have not.
You need to try that.
That would be interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing I'm using it for is writing my policies. So I said, hey, ChatGPT, I'm Four Seasons Auto, I'm a car lot. Please write me a employee policy on cell phone usage. And it wrote 4 pages, well, 2.5 pages of a cell phone policy, right? And then I just went in there and edited it, changed a couple things I didn't like, and then copy and pasted it over to my policy manual.
That is, I mean,
save me 4 hours.
Jeff, I don't want to sound too crazy here, but I mean,
you're crazy.
It's revolutionary. I mean, beyond revolutionary, it is anytime you can save, and actually Isaac and I were working on something on Monday that saved him 2 hours 3 times a week because of something, because of a report we made. Okay. And that's what this does. And that's why it's so important. How many employees can we save by using a product like this? Yeah, that's what matters.
Let's get into that. First off, Luke, just quick plug, obviously, for Buckeye, sponsor of the podcast and great supporter of the show. I don't know. Here's where AI will help with your Buckeye products, right? So when we talk about policies, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to give it direction to please write me a sales script for selling my aftermarket products, right? Like, please write a script for my salesman to present these products, X, Y, Z, right? And then I'm going to go through and fine tune it. And then I'm going to have actual scripts that I can have my salesman and say, hey, here is the phrases you need to use during closing written by AI so that you can sell more aftermarket products.
Yeah. And another thing you could do with ChatGPT and Buckeye is that you could ask ChatGPT to write a blog on your website about the importance of gap or the importance of buying an extended service contract. Because I promise you that will be a blog that is read by a lot of people. So, I mean, it's just amazing the uses that you can come up with where you didn't have time before, but now we have time.
Yeah, huge. And so along those policies and procedures manuals, I had it write me a cash, what is my cash handling process, how to reconcile my cash drawer. And it wrote out in like really good detail how to reconcile your cash drawer to your statements. Facebook ads, right? Please write me 3 Facebook ads that are friendly about getting approved with little to no credit. Boom. It wrote out 3 Facebook ads about getting approved with little to no credit. And all I have to do is copy and paste those into my ads.
It's so neat. I'd say it is so neat.
Let me give you, Luke. So we talk about, the practical uses that we're using it now, right? Like, okay, yeah, it's kind of funny. You ask it to write you something and it writes you something, right? It's pulling language from the internet and it's creating a paragraph, a policy, a procedure. Now, let's talk about it creating and operating as an employee and actually fulfilling tasks, right? And I think that's really the transformative part of this. It's like Luke said, if you can not even replace an employee, but make an employee more efficient, right? So 2 days ago, my social media girl came in here and I was like, hey, have you heard about this? And she's like, no. So right in front of her, I sat down and I said, well, here's what's going to either A, replace you, or B, make you more efficient, depending on how you want to look at it. Because it can write all those things that she writes. It can write show notes for the podcast. It can write blog posts. It can write ad copy. And she's kind of like, oh, wow. Oh, my goodness. It's like, okay, so do you want to learn to use this or do you want it to replace you? And that's kind of how we can look at it as owners and of a car lot, is like, where can we put this into place and where are the areas of opportunity to make our dealership more effective and our employees more effective or reduce some costs, right?
Yeah. And I think you and I, when we were talking about this episode, the one thing that came to mind was you could use this technology as your BDC department.
Mm.
And I think that is the number one application that we can use in our sales force and in our dealership. Because if we had I know we're not going to use chatbot, but if we had a true AI bot that could take every single inbound lead and walk it to an appointment or an approval, you would, I don't know what you would do. You could eliminate half of your sales force. You wouldn't need a BDC department. And you could say, okay, make sure that you follow up setting that appointment. Make sure you follow up when they get here. I mean, it's everything in one. And I truly think this technology is heading that way. Don't you, Jeff?
Yeah. So currently there are AI chatbots. When we say chatbot, right? Like previously to now, a chatbot was pre-programmed, right? It's like, press A or B. It was just a call tree, right? Press 1 if you want sales. Press 2 if you want collections. Do you want to look at a car? Well, here, it was all pre-programmed paths.
Yeah.
This is now a native language. It's a natural language model, right? So it's like customers are not going to know that they're interacting with a bot. You're not going to know it. You're not going to know the difference. It's going to think you're interacting with a salesman. And this bot will know exactly your program. It will know your sales process. You will teach it how to interact with a customer, and you can correct it. No, hey, when you said this, that's not accurate. Don't ever say that again. Or, hey, when the customer gets to this point, our goal is to set an appointment. Please use my Calendarly link and fill it out with an appointment, So it's a natural system that can also pull information from your website in real time, right?
Yeah.
Yes, that 2013 Ford Focus is here. Let me tell you about it, So the ways this can be used as a BDC are just incredible, because it will do it perfectly every single time with no rest, no days off, no jumping the process, no going rogue and saying their own thing in their own scripts.
And how many leads come in at 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. in the morning? It never sleeps. So you are constantly handling leads where right now you aren't, right? And everybody knows how important it is to respond to a lead immediately.
Yeah. So I think of it in context of like our Neo sponsor, right? If I could get this to be a Neo agent, and it's different than, like, again, it's not the chat bots. It's not the ninjas that like hear a word and then that automatically triggers a pre-response. If this thing could naturally look at an applicant, pull credit, ask the customer about their credit score, do an analysis on the pay stub, check the internet to see if this is a fake pay stub. I mean, it can do all of those things just instantly, right? Instantly, it can do verification of income. It can do verification of residence, check their address against their credit report, check it against alternative data, right?
Or check it against known addresses on the internet associated with this person, which is out there. So it's all these other side things that cost labor time and major labor time. When it comes to us approving an application, yes, Neo puts it all into one space, which is super, super helpful. But it's the process of our salespeople having to make sure that it all lines up and fits in this box. But if if AI could look at the internet and squeeze it all down together really quickly, man, I mean, that would save us. Our salespeople could do everything.
Yeah. I mean, literally, you could have it all done. You could give the bot the ability and permissions to go all the way down to structuring a deal, right?
Yeah.
Based off payment to income, based on the preference of car that the customer wants. You could structure the entire deal and then just schedule the customer to show up or schedule the delivery.
So, because how hard
send all the documents.
How hard is it getting our salespeople to ask 3 times for the close or 5 times for the close? I mean, you tell AI one time to do it, and it should work, right?
Yeah.
You got to ask 3 times.
Yep. And then they fall out of habits and they get bad. And I think the only issue you'd have is if AI started taking liberties that you would have to then rein back
Hey,
in.
well, I got them approved at $200 a month.
Yeah. Like, hey, AI, like, I know you appreciate the sob story that person told you about why they don't have any down payment, but
they're liars.
Yeah, you can't buy into the psychology, or you can't, maybe AI gets too, compassionate for people and starts giving your cars away. So yeah, there could be the extreme end of things going awry.
Yeah.
Real quick, Luke, Primalend
Yep.
sponsored the podcast. So these guys are the place to go to get money, to get funding. We know that funding is an issue right now. Another large regional buy here, pay here, subprime has bit the dust.
Yeah, I mean, and we kind of predicted it on our episode with Tim Lawrence. But Primalend can help you, and they're still lending. They have money, and actually, Jeff, we're going to sit down next week and talk with Paxton about Primalend and get a kind of whole deal of what they do. But they can help you own your property. They can help you with your floor plan. And they are there to help you with the struggles they've seen throughout the ages of buy here, pay here, right? They've got so much experience and they've got so many good people there. They're really a great company and they're a benefit. They're a sponsor of Buy Here, Pay Here United. And
which is where we're going to be in just 4 days, right? Down in Vegas.
We're going to be there. And like we've said before, we want people to talk to us. We're going to do a couple different interviews while we're there. We'd love to talk to you, people listening. Please come up to us. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us. Make fun of Jeff with the glasses. Whatever.
All I can think of right now, Luke, is now is the time to talk to those guys, because guess what? All of those America Car Credit and U.S. Auto Mart,
U.S. Auto Sales,
all those locations are now in receivership and or bankruptcy court. And the people who own the land underneath them, if they're not corporately owned, if they're privately owned and released, are going to be looking to put tenants in those spots. So if you don't own the current dealership you're in and you don't have a path to ownership there, this is an opportunity to look at one of those places that's already built out, that's already ready for you. And if you have your ducks in a row and can go in and make an offer to these people, now might be the time to snag up some real estate, right?
For sure. And Primalend can help you do that. And I can tell you this, the 3 locations that were just left, they're about 2.5 miles from me, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of the 3 locations are really, really nice. One was a Porsche store and one was an Audi store. Wow. And I've just got it in the back of my mind, like, man, I'd really, really, really like to have those dealerships, but I'm not moving. Anyway, back to ChatGPT, Jeff. Okay. I have not tried this. Have you tried this? Let's say we have a car that's being a pain in the butt, that we can't figure out what's wrong with it. Could we ask ChatGPT, hey, what are the normal issues with this code on this car? Have you tried that?
I have not. I've got that on my task list of things to do, to use it as a Google, an internet research tool for problem cars. But yes, that's one of the use cases, right? Like Luke was saying, you can do that with the medical field, right? They're creating, one of them's called Dr. Gupta, and it's basically going to be an AI doctor. It's got all the data. It's got all the knowledge of every doctor on earth. Why not ask it questions as opposed to calling your guy who hasn't looked at a freaking science book since he graduated, or a medical book since he graduated? Like, why not use, and the other thing we didn't talk about is the language. So it can speak natively in any language, right? So it automatically can translate everything into Spanish for you if you need that, right?
That's incredible.
Indian.
That's incredible.
Every language it can automatically translate. So if you say, hey, please translate this ad into friendly Spanish or native Spain or Southern dialect, you know what I'm saying? It will translate those things with pretty darn good accuracy for conversational Spanish. The other thing I was thinking about too is, for those of you that are buy here, pay here, if I could integrate this into my payment platform, right, into my collector, Now I've
Yeah.
got the same thing that we talked about on the BDC side, but on my collectors, right? It's automatically sending text messages. It's automatically sending emails. It's following up. It's creating solutions. It's problem solving. It's setting promise to pays. It's sending payment links, so that the customer can automatically make the payments. I mean, how amazing would that be to have an employee that doesn't get lazy, doesn't miss follow-ups, but also has a memory retention that can say, hey, isn't this the 5th time that your grandma has died and you had to fund a funeral? Didn't we give you a promise to pay, 6 months ago? Like, how incredible could that be? Like, you could, instead of outsourcing our collections to, Mexico or wherever we're outsourcing to, we just IA source it, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think BDC, the BDC person and the collector are essentially the same person, right? And if you could just say, okay, ChatGPT, I want you to contact every customer that's over 5 days past due. I want you to contact them every day until you get a promise to pay. Go at it. That's a game changer, honestly.
Yeah. And I think, that simplifies it. I think it would have to be a very large prompt, right? Like,
yeah,
to just say, hey, please text these people at 5 days. It's like, okay, things could go crazy. But I think collectors or prompt writers or these companies, whoever this software developer is going to be that's going to make this API integration, you would, of course, build out a very, very large prompt that gives a lot of like guardrails to AI as of when to contact, how to contact, what tone to use, and then your collector would then spend the majority of their time reviewing the notes and retraining AI in certain situations, how to not do this or not do that, or maybe this should have been better, so you're just training it. But the beauty is you tell it once and you don't have to tell it again.
Yeah.
And you don't have to retrain it when you replace it.
And it does it. It is, so you can train, that's what's so hard with employees. And Jeff, I texted you about this yesterday. You can train your employees to do things and to do it, task and to do it your way. And unless you are managing those people to a certain standard, guess what? Those employees quit doing everything you train them and their task. And then you're like, what did you do all day yesterday? This doesn't do that.
That's probably one of the best selling points is, yes, they don't fall into bad habits. They don't have bad days. They don't call in sick.
They don't look at Facebook or TikTok.
Yeah. They don't get lazy or distracted hopefully they don't get sideways with the customer, right? Yeah. Like sometimes you have collectors and a customer and they just don't like each other, right? They get sideways with a customer and they will just always be sideways with that customer.
We got to repossess
like your collector. Yeah. So-and-so's not going to come through. Okay. So you can talk the bias, or you can train the bias out of your AI in those situations. Absolutely huge. So if you've listened this far in the podcast and you are a vendor who is building something like this, please reach out to us.
Yes, 100%.
If you are a CRM that is integrating real AI into your platform, or if you are a payment platform, Repay or Pay Near Me or BlitzPay or any of you guys that are doing this, please reach out to us. We want to talk more about this and invest as well. I think this is going to definitely be the future and can simplify our jobs as dealers for sure.
Yeah.
What about an AI bot that crawls auctions?
Well, Auction Genius and those things will say that's kind of what they do. But
does that like you use VinQ, I use VinQ, right? And you have your like buying plan. But it can only, I mean, I don't know that it's proactively going out. Like you have to interact with it and be like, okay, I got to look. But if your AI is proactively going out to find you a 4-door sedan in the $20,000 range to fill a hole in your inventory, and it finds it at the right price and ratio, it can execute the purchase based on
Yeah.
condition report and all other kind of criteria, and then it can schedule transport. I mean, crazy.
It is. It
In your
is
shop.
revolutionary.
What if you just say, hey, here's my 2013 Ford Fusion, and here's all the issues it has, and it gives you a plan of action, and it builds out work orders, and it orders parts, and it alerts you when the parts are delivered. It sources the best part from all your vendors at the best price.
It quotes and sends out the quote, and just talks to the it can say, okay, your radiator's bad, and the customer's like, well, what's a radiator? And it will tell you what the radiator is.
Yeah. I mean, send pictures, AI generated pictures to the customer, get approvals, process payments.
Are you trying to get down to just you and your dealership? No other employees.
Dealerships could be single point, and everything is just AI driven and remotely delivered.
I think we've built it up as to be something great, and I think it can be. Again, you've got to direct it, and you can't. As we've been talking about in the newsletter for the last couple of weeks, it's about processes, about building the right process. We're encouraging you to use AI in your processes. Hey, it can write your processes, but if you use it properly, it can really help to streamline what you're doing at your dealership today.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Luke, that's the episode. We'll see you down in Vegas, Buy Here, Pay Here United in a couple days.
Sounds good.
Dealers helping dealers. Please leave us a review and subscribe. The Independent Dealer Podcast.